Hello, my name is Pastor Dave, and today we are going to be judged by the law. The relationship between grace and the law has always been hotly contested. So let's be clear. We are saved by grace alone. Romans chapter 3 verse 28 states that, therefore we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law. So then, why did God write his moral law with his own finger on 2 tables of stone? Does this mean the moral law has no bearing on our salvation? Together with the Apostle Paul, we can emphatically declare the words recorded in Romans chapter 3 verse 31. Do we then make void the law of God through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law. If we're saved by grace alone, why do we establish the law? Because the grace of Christ reproduces in the willing recipient of the power of Christ a reflection of his character. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 8 to 10 says, For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that not of yourselves, it's the gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. For we're his workmanship, created in Christ unto good works, which God hath before ordained that we should walk in them. The moral law, which was enshrined at Sinai and is commonly referred to as the 10 Commandments, was in place long before the Hebrews arrived at Sinai. From the creation, the moral law was an essential part of God's divine plan and is as unchangeable as he himself is. The law of God's the standard by which the actions, words, intentions, and thoughts will be judged. It shows if I've allowed Christ to do his good pleasure in me. It shows if I've been freed from the sinfulness of this world. In James 2:12, the apostle declares, So speak ye, and so do, as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty. The moral law is an expression of the character of God. The law of God is the standard of all righteousness. It's an expression of his mind, his character, his will. It's an embodiment of 2 great principles: love toward our Creator and love toward our neighbor. In Matthew 7:12, Christ tells us, Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. In the first 4 commandments, we show our love to God. And in the second part, we have 6 commandments that show our love for others. In Romans chapter 7 verse 12, Paul states that the law is holy, and the commandment holy and just and good. Therefore, anything that's contrary to these principles is sin. In his first epistle, John writes in chapter 3 verse 4 that whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. In the Sermon on the Mount, Christ magnified the law, vindicated it, explained it, taught it, made it honorable, and rebuked its transgressors. The moral law of God, the law of 10 commandments, as it is in Jesus, remains in force under the new covenant as a mirror for our self-examination. In Romans 3:20, we find that by the law is the knowledge of sin. Since the moral law is simply a reflection of the character of God, we cannot receive the law without Christ or Christ without the law. The 2 are inseparable from each other. In Galatians 3:24, Paul writes that the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. When we accept Christ, he writes his law, the Decalogue, in our heart. With the psalmist, we can then declare, I delight to do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy law is within my heart. This is God's will for you. Accept his grace, and you will receive freedom from sin through obedience to the perfect law of liberty, which is made possible through your union with Christ. I hope and pray that you will have this wonderful experience and be able to share with others the joy you have in a Christian life.